What happens when your opponent tears open your king's defenses, sacrifices a bishop, launches a double rook attack, and yet somehow you're the one who delivers checkmate? This is a rapid game I played as black against Arville85, a closely rated opponent at around 1000 elo. The opening was sharp, the middle game was chaotic, and the ending? The ending was something special. Let me show you. The game opens with the Scandinavian defense. After one pawn to e4, I play pawn to d5, immediately challenging the center. White responds with knight to c3, and instead of capturing on e4, I push pawn to d4, the closed variation, kicking the knight away. White jumps the knight to d5, an aggressive outpost, and I respond with pawn to e5, holding the center, followed by knight to f6 to attack that knight. White develops the bishop to c4, and after pawn to d3, I capture the knight on d5 with knight takes d5. White recaptures with the bishop, bishop takes d5, and I play pawn to c6, asking the bishop a simple question: where are you going? And here, White makes a provocative decision. Bishop takes f7 check, a bishop sacrifice, cracking open the king's shelter. I have to take. King takes f7. And now my king is exposed in the center. White follows up with queen to f3 check, and I block with queen to f6, offering a queen trade. Now, at this level, this is a critical moment. White has given up a bishop to drag my king out, but there's no immediate knockout blow. The position is messy, but not lost for black. White develops the knight to h3, and I capture the queen. Queen takes f3. After pawn takes f3, the pawn structure around White's king is shattered. I grab the knight with bishop takes h3, picking up another piece. White plays bishop to g5. I respond, bishop to e7, and after bishop takes e7, king takes e7, the dust settles. I'm up material, a bishop and a knight for just a pawn, and both sides have damaged king safety. White castles queenside, and I bring my rook into the game with rook to f8, targeting that weak f3 pawn. White plays rook to g1, doubling rooks and eyeing the g-file. But watch this. Rook takes f3. I sacrifice the exchange? No, I simply capture the weak f3 pawn with my rook, swinging into White's position. This is the key move of the entire game. It looks natural, but it unlocks everything. The rook is now active, deep inside White's camp, and it's about to cause absolute havoc on the second rank. White strikes back with rook takes g7 check, and my king steps to d6. Rook takes h7 follows. White is gobbling pawns on the king side. Rook to h6 check pushes my king to c7. But here's the thing. White's rooks are far away, collecting pawns on the edge of the board, while my pieces are about to converge on White's king. I develop my knight to d7, preparing to bring more pressure. White plays pawn to b3, shoring up the queen side, but it's not enough. Now the invasion begins. Rook takes f2. My rook crashes onto the second rank, capturing the f2 pawn. White plays rook to g1, but I continue. Rook takes h2, sweeping across the board, taking another pawn and opening up the h-file. Two rooks, a knight, and a bishop, all aimed at White's exposed king. The material advantage is growing, and more importantly, the attack is building. White plays rook to g7, trying to generate counterplay, but I calmly bring my other rook into the fight. Rook to f8, and then rook to f2. Both rooks are now on the second rank. White's king starts to run. King to b2, then king to a3, desperately fleeing. But with every step, the noose tightens. I play rook takes c2, capturing the c2 pawn and threatening to invade further. White doubles rooks on the 7th with rook to h7. But it's too late. My rook slides to a2. Rook takes a2, check. The white king is forced to king to b4, stepping into the open. And now, pawn to a5, check. A pawn delivers check. The king has only one square. King to c4. And this is where everything ends.
The king sits on c4, exposed,
Surrounded. Rook to c2, checkmate. The rook slides back to c2, and the king has nowhere to go. The d3 pawn blocks d3. The b3 pawn blocks b3. The rook on h2 covers the 4th rank, and the rook on c2 delivers the final blow. A beautiful checkmate with both rooks coordinating perfectly.
So what's the lesson here?
First, a sacrifice isn't dangerous just because it looks scary. White's b-backed f7 check grabbed a pawn and exposed my king, but without a concrete follow-up, it actually helped me develop faster. Second, rooks belong on open files, and especially on the 2nd rank. Once both rooks landed on the 2nd rank, the attack played itself. And third, when your opponent's king is running, don't chase with just one piece. Coordinate. Bring everything together. That's how you deliver checkmate. Not with brute force, but with harmony.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, consider subscribing to Sayloby. We tell the stories behind real games, one move at a time. I'll see you in the next one.